They
Yeah.
accept our work, but they don't accept us as a human. They don't accept us as creatives. They don't accept us as artists. We've got to stop being afraid to lose those opportunities. We've got to stop being afraid of their no and start creating our own yeses.
I want to go where I'm celebrated, not tolerated.
It
My mother
has
always told me
taken
so.
some time
It was
for
a
Black
painting
women
of
commercial
you are
work.
not
there.
Hello everyone, my name is Zadrian Smith and thank you for joining us on WWD for the second of 3 panels where I'll be speaking to Black creatives about their experiences in both the fashion and entertainment industries. We'll be centering our dialogue on racial discrimination and injustices in the workplace. The goal is to have a transformative conversation that will allow us to turn words into action so that we can start to incite change. Today I'm joined by 3 incredible hairstylists who have all taken hairstyling to new realms of creativity and sophistication. Please join me in welcoming them. Her work can be seen in Vogue, Elle, and on the tresses of Naomi Campbell, Jordan Dunn, Naomi Scott, and Ella Eyre, Miss Marcia Lee. Her work can be seen in Vogue, Allure, and on the tresses of Yara Shahidi, Alicia Keys, Tracy Ellis Ross, and Sasha Lane, Miss Navasha. And his work can be seen in Vogue, V, Rolling Stone, and on the tresses of Rihanna, Normani, and Lizzo, Mr. Yusef. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thank you all for agreeing to do this and trusting me with the responsibility to help you tell your narratives. I think it's very brave for you to speak out and use your voice on a topic of this nature. And I also want to thank the WWD team and Mr. James Fallon for giving us this platform to have a voice so that we can speak out on these issues and try to find solutions. So I started the series speaking to 3 Black stylists, asking them about their experiences and things that they have gone through in their career trajectories. And what became immediately apparent is that we really do have a long way to go in both the fashion and entertainment industries. What the conversation and what the conundrums revealed is that both Hollywood and fashion stand on pillars of white privilege and white solidarity. And because of that, there's a lack of access and opportunity for Black creatives. So my first question is for Yusef. And Yusef, when we spoke, as I just said, we kind of spoke about how in the luxury sector, opportunities for Black creatives are scarce. And a lot of times you show up on set or you show up to the hotel or wherever you may be going to do a job, and you're the only Black person in the room. I want to ask you, Yusef, how does that feel? Well, in that moment where you walk in and realize that you're going to be the only Black person on set, how does that moment feel? And if you've had any specific instances in your career where you have experienced discrimination?
I think in the beginning of my career, me finding my way and figuring out what it was, you know what I mean, that I wanted to do, as far as like working in fashion and things like that. Walking into those rooms and being the only person. I never thought about it. I never took a moment to say, oh, wow, I'm the only Black person. But I think the further I got in my career, I started to notice that. And it just kind of like hit me like a freight train, like, wait, and I was telling you the other day, I was like, there's moments where you have those seconds where you just kind of like want to like have that person to relate things to or to have that, and then you look around and you're like, oh wow, like that's not here for me, you know what I mean? That opportunity doesn't exist. Like I am the only Black person here, so I went from feeling powerful or empowered that I was the only Black person in the room and like I was kicking the doors down to feeling like this isn't right, you know what I mean? Like it was like it started to feel a lot, but I kind of felt alone in my ideas, in my power. I felt that I had to kind of like seek refuge and find that in the people that I was working with. And even though they didn't look like me, it was kind of hard. I'm not gonna lie, but I pushed through, you know what I mean? I had to work harder. I had to fill up the space with my Blackness. You know what I mean? I had to start voicing things to the creatives like, hey, like, who the Black designers are, what if we did this? And, oh, I don't like to put braids on white girls. And, I was just kind of like, I had to insert myself, you know, and not feel like I was the only Black person in the room. I had to make them feel that I was the Black person in the room and that I was going to let them know what was culturally inappropriate or appropriate. You know, I just started to gain my power in knowing who I was as a stylist, as a Black stylist. So I went from, you know, feeling a little bit like alone to feeling powerful at the end of the day. Like right now, I'm like, it is what it is, but I'm also going to address it. I'm gonna like make it known that like, oh, you guys don't have any Black stylists?
Right,
Who's
right.
the editor? Who's writing the story on this? Or who's this and that? You know, I'm always just kind of like involved.
You mentioned something specifically that stood out to me when we spoke, that you would show up for a job and you would be assigned, you would be assigned to do the hair of the Black models or the Black talent, but not made aware that there were also white models or white talent, and whoever was putting the job together, they would have hired another stylist to do the white model's hair.
Yeah,
What happened there?
that's an ongoing thing. You'd be surprised on like some shoots you go to and you're like, wait, what is he doing here? And they'll be like, oh, well, you know, he's doing the white girls, you're doing the Black girls. And I'm like, well, I'm confused. You know what I mean? Because I can handle this whole job. That's something that will never happen to me again. I think one is too many. One times is too many. I have been trained by the best. You know, I have put in some real work, you know, to get where I am. And I do all hair, you know what I'm saying? So you're not gonna separate me. You're not gonna put me in a box. You're not gonna put me in the Black girl corner. You know, I did that, you know. In fashion shows, like I told you, you know, in Paris, like I would look around and all the Black models would be just lined up waiting to sit in my chair, you know what I mean? Because they knew I could do their hair. And then that went from just being like all the Black girls lined up waiting to get their hair done for a major show till like all the girls, you know what I mean? It was like the white girls, the Black girls, it was like, we need Yusef to do our hair. And like, I'm talking about major shows like Chanel and Dior, having people separate your talents, separate your gift, separate your purpose as a artist is something that I will never allow to happen to me again, because it's happened. And, you know, I've been on major sets and I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing this huge campaign and I'm you know, and I get there and I'm like, but why is this person here? They're like, oh yeah.
How will you prevent that from happening?
You know, you gotta. I've made it very clear to people. You know what I mean? So if I hear that there's a shoot and there's 10 girls, let's say, you know, I ask questions. Are they all Black girls? Are they all white girls? Are they mixed? Like what's happening? What we're doing? You know, I'm super involved. I don't let my agent go all the talking. I'm like, let me speak to the creative people. Let me, you know what I mean? I jump in. And I want to know, because I don't need anyone to separate me. Like that will never happen. Like I said, that will never happen to me again. And I just kind of like take charge of it. You know, I create the narrative of what's going to happen. I've done the work. You know what I mean? I've proven myself.
I think it's about like you said, standing in your power, not being afraid to ask questions. Marcia, you're joining us from London. And, you know, I kind of wanted to ask you about your Englishness. When we spoke, the story that you told me, you said that you were doing a job and someone, you know, there was a conversation about Blackness and, you know, someone said to you, oh, Marcia, you're not Black, you're English. So do you feel like in your journey, specifically in America, when you've gone to work in America, do you feel like your Englishness has distanced you from your Blackness and made you closer to proximity to white people, therefore garnering you more success and more job opportunities?
Maybe in the United States, when you're dealing with white clients, you know, they can't seem to, and also like anybody from the United States, the minute that they hear you have an accent, that they take the Blackness away. It's not you taking the Blackness away, they're taking the Blackness away. You're still Black. You just have a different accent, you just come from different countries, because we are everywhere. At the end of the day, the way I get treated when they hear an accent, yeah, definitely doors will open a lot more wider. 100% that's happened. To me, I feel that's ignorance on their part as well, because you're still showing racism and discrimination because you're only letting that person through because of an accent. Do you know what I mean? You know, it's that whole thing about like, someone who's not the same color as you still not choosing to see your color? Because you're going to say, well, I don't see color. Well, then you must be colorblind because freaking hell.
Right.
Just said I'm black. Black. End of. Done and dusted.
Right.
I see you. Fast to believe that.
Right.
So you need to see me.
We had the same conversation yesterday when I was speaking to the stylist, because Calvin is also London-based, and he was saying, you know, well, Jason actually brought it up. He was saying, you know, how when you come into the States and you have an accent, there tends to be this idea that you're smarter, you're more cultured, you're more well-traveled. It becomes a class thing. You're still black.
Because I have noticed that. I have noticed, like, when I've been on certain jobs, how someone would talk to, say, like, an African American, and we're in the same room compared to talking to me at the same time. It's like we're completely two different people, and that's not the case. Differently when it comes to, like, the race, yeah, absolutely. This discrimination is still there. It just may not be boom in your face. Right. It's more hidden. You've been allowed to come in because you possess this certain trait and that certain trait.
Miss Navasha, the curl queen. Navasha, so you've been coined the curl queen. And, you know, I find that term to be very interesting because when I first heard it, I immediately thought, oh, this is going to pigeonhole Navasha. This is going to pigeonhole the types of clients that she's going to be able to work with. But when I spoke to you, you gave me a completely different story. So I would love to know this title as the curl queen. What has that done for your career? What doors has that opened? What doors has that closed?
For me, I don't feel pigeonholed with the term curl queen. It's actually pretty liberating, it's powerful, and it's impactful to me. First of all, I don't need straight hair or white hair to define me as an artist. I know who I am. I know my texture. I work with all textures, and I always have. So, you know, that's the first part. And so therefore you can't pigeonhole me. Has it opened more doors? It has, but then it's also closed some doors. I think overall, I think people, when they mention the term curl queen, they feel like, oh, she only knows how to do natural hair. She only knows how to work curls. She doesn't know how to straighten hair. She doesn't know how to do a wig. She doesn't know how to do any of these things. However, it has opened up more doors for the luxury side, and I think for that texture girl that's in Hollywood, because they trust that I know what I'm talking about. They trust that I know what I'm doing. They trust that my experience with our textures, and there are many, and that's why I made it full, with our textures, that I know how to handle it, and I know what to do, and I know how to manipulate.
But textured, let's be clear, I think textured hair in Hollywood was not always celebrated. I think that's something
it was not always celebrated at
the
all.
last 5 or 10 years. I mean,
I wouldn't even give it that long.
Really, when do you think, what do you think was the click or the moment where, you know, curly hair or textured hair became in trend or in vogue?
Okay, I think when we started to see more African models on covers, I think when we started to see more African models walking the runways, I think those moments made more of Hollywood, more celebrities, more leading ladies feel more comfortable in their own kinky, in their own curly, in their own coily, to grace the globes, to grace the red carpet, to grace press junkets, and who they are, and their very being.
Why do you think that, and this is on both parts for Black and white people, and you guys can chime in on this as well, Marcia and Yusef, why do you think that some Black women struggle to embrace their natural hair, and why do you think white people struggle to accept natural hair as a standard of beauty?
It has taken some time for Black women to embrace their inner self, because that's really where it starts. Their inner self, and to accept their own self, because Hollywood overall and society has made us believe that the epitome of beautiful is straight hair. The epitome of beautiful is this beach wave. The epitome of beautiful is this Marilyn Monroe bebop. Like this is what history has taught us. But when you take someone like a Rihanna, or you take a Naomi Campbell, Or you take a Viola Davis who embraces their kinky and still absolutely slays and bodies the carpet, absolutely slays and bodies that billboard or that campaign. Then now society wants to be a part of it, and they want to rename our braids, our cornrows, boxer braids, and they want to hire our girls in Paris to do these very beautiful and intricate braids, but then give credit to a white hairdresser. Like, what is that?
So 1 second, let's pause there. Just in case somebody missed that, I just want to make that point very clear. It's tricky because as a stylist, this is something that I did not know was going on, because I think it's difficult for a stylist to do the work, even though this does happen, but it's difficult for a stylist to do the work and then another stylist take the credit. But it sounds like within the sectors of hair and of makeup, there are instances where a Black creative is showing up, as you said, Navasha, to do the braids or to do the beat, but then that credit is being given to someone else.
Right, who they feel like is what society or press wants to see or celebrate as the artist. No, stop putting us on your stop putting us on your inspiration boards. Stop using us for your creative juices and not putting us on the call sheet and not hiring us to do that cover and not hiring us to implement those looks on your pages, on your glossy pages. That's unfair.
Because our look is good enough. Our look is good enough to be celebrated when it's in fashion and it's cool for you. But we still are not appreciated enough to carry out those very looks, which are ours to begin with.
That has been like a thing, you know, for a very long time, like in the late 90s, you know, when a lot of the Black hairstylists went to Paris to do the shows, you know, it was because we knew how to do things our counterpart couldn't do. You know, a lot of the white kids couldn't braid, you know what I mean? They didn't know how to do extensions. They didn't know how to do all these things, you know? And honestly, it kind of blows my mind because in Paris,
I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but you just made a really good point. You said a lot of the white kids could not braid.
Yeah.
So are you saying that a lot of the white counterparts, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you saying that a lot of your white counterparts, white hairstylists, are not trained in doing Black hair?
No, they're not. They're not.
But they're being hired to do the job.
Yeah, they're being hired to do the jobs. I'm talking about teams, like, you know, fashion teams. Like they would bring, you know, at one point, you know, I felt that like the only reason why I was here is because I could braid and I could, you know, do Black hair, and I was put, you know, there for the Black models and things like that. But then after a while, like I said, things started to change. You know what I mean? The white girls were in my chair because they knew that they were going to get a completely finished look, because that's how we work as Black hairstylists. Yeah. There's no shortcuts. You know what I mean? Like it's from wet to done. You know what I mean? Like it's no in between. You know, and I think in beauty schools, we're not taught to like do Black hair. We're just taught how to do hair. Like, you know, when you go to certain beauty schools and, you know, there's not like a book, but like, oh, this is the Black girl hair book and this is the white girl hair book. We'll learn the same skills as our counterparts that are white. You know what I mean? There's nothing different. But where we pick up these things is from our parents, you know what I mean? Our siblings, you know, learning how to braid and like being a part of the culture. And I think to go back to the beginning of talking about like Black women not embracing their natural hair, I think it's the lack of education of, you know, on both sides, on you know, of knowing what your hair can do, knowing what your real texture is. You know, I have girlfriends who've been relaxing their hair since they was 12 years old. You know what I mean? They don't know what their natural hair looks like. Yeah. And you don't know what it is. You know, like my best friend, she comes to me and she goes, like, I don't have that coily hair. That's why I can't go natural. Like, and I'm like, your hair could do that, you know? You teach your hair, you train your hair. So I think nowadays, you know, hey, COVID came and a lot of people were forced to like get familiar with their inner self and their Black girl magic, you know what I mean? All of that stuff. So whether you wanted it to happen or not, them curls was gonna show up. It was gonna show up and show out. And you're gonna have to figure out how to embrace that, you know? So I look at that as a blessing because I haven't put a relaxer in any of my clients in over 10 years. You know what I mean?
Oh.
I don't do relaxers. I don't put relaxer. Rihanna, nobody I touch. And I think those shortcuts and those cheating techniques, you know, to just get somewhere fast was not always something good. It just, I never really felt good about it. I felt like it was damaging and it was this and it was that, you know? So I'm like, all right, let me just change what I'm doing and just put in the work. Because you can get natural hair straight if you just actually applied yourself and you blow dry the hair, you condition the hair, you soften the hair, and you got whatever you needed. So I think it's the education from the stylist. I think these Black women need to talk to their stylist and really know like their options and really have conversations about their hair. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying you can't be straight anymore, but there's ways of doing things without having to take away the option to change. You know what I mean? If you want to be straight, if you want to be curly, you know, I think people get a little lazy and they just don't want to educate themselves, you know, or educate their clients on their options.
Right.
And then sometimes they don't really think that that natural hair is glamorous either.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out here, you know, that think that, you know, like me having a long weave, I feel like a lot of that has changed. The lace fronts, the girls are like just using that so they can wear purple hair and green hair and, you know, and orange hair every other week and things like that. But I think when I do see girls like embrace like natural hair and things like that, you know, it's just really taking it up. Thanks to you guys, thanks to us, you know, we're showing them that this can be elevated, this can be beautiful, this can be on the cover of Vogue, this can be, you know, anywhere. But also having the freedom to do whatever you want, you know, whatever you want to do and have a story to tell behind it, you know. Like, I'm not going to give Rihanna a hairstyle that is like super natural, because people, first of all, as soon as you do a certain braid or a twist, they're like, well, where's this from?
Right.
You know, like the look that I gave her for the British Vogue cover and in the insert with the balls on them, you know, the first thing everybody was doing, I hope you know that this is from West Africa and da 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 da. I'm like, first of all, she's a Black girl too. You know what I mean? I didn't just, this isn't no inappropriating things. You know, like this is some, like, hold up. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to, like, simmer down. Like, because one thing I can say is that I'm very well educated in what I'm doing. I don't care if I'm like doing a middle part. I want to know that that middle part is something, this is my inspiration. This is where I'm pulling. This is from, you know, so I think nowadays people are super on it, like, and want to make sure you know and make sure that your client know that where this is from and how to embrace this hair and, you know, this natural hair. So I feel like we got a lot of people out there like advocating and because they was on my door. They was knocking on the door like, hey, boo-boo, like, this is from South Africa. This is from West Africa. This is the tribe of this and that and that. And I'm like, yes, I like, this is what I want to see. So I think if we have more of that, we'll be good.
Well, speaking about references, something that I think I spoke about with all three of you is this idea that in order for Blackness or Black culture to become mainstream, it really doesn't become mainstream until we see it through the white lens. So Marcia, I wanted to ask you, and this brings us to white validation. How do we shift that narrative? How do we remove the power of the white lens to make our culture acceptable and mainstream?
You know, like when Yusef was talking about how, like, you know, he's gone into a shoot and he's only there for the Black models, and then there's a hairstylist for the white people, because that's happened to me as well, you know, and it's really frustrating. So if we take a stand and choose not to accept certain things that are given to us, then things will start changing. And it also comes from the top as well, because there's too many of us that like just go through the motions, accept what we're given because we're lucky to be through the door. And if we stop doing that, then things will change completely, because they'll know that they can't get away with that. And see that we are, you know, we're hairdressers, but we're Black and we can do everything. Let us in and let us, you know, show our capabilities like you do for everybody else.
To me, it's bigger than just having a seat at the table. It's for us to have a seat at the head of the table.
100%.
And that's the problem. The problem is not
I think it's even bigger than that. I think it's about us as not having a seat at the head of their table. I think it's about us making our own table and inviting them.
Yes. How about that? How
That's
about
not
that?
true. We don't want to sit at your table. We don't want to sit at the head of your table. This is my table. It's been here. You can come and sit down at my table. Let's have a chat.
Yeah, we talked about that the other day because it went from like sitting in these production meetings and these like collaborative meetings with the photographers and the stylists and not really having a voice to actually having so many ideas and just like listening to everybody and not being a part of the conversation, like as a Black stylist, because you don't want to walk in the room and be like, hey, Stephen Mizell, like I was thinking, you know what I mean? Like, because it's gonna be like, what? You was what? You know?
Who told you to think? You know,
like, who gave you lines in this movie? So, you know, and I really, honestly, that was probably one of the most empowering things for me is actually coming to and sitting in one of those rooms, being invited into one of those rooms, and not realizing that like the reason why you're here is because they need you. They want your input. They want you to be a part of the process. And like actually speaking up and saying, hey, like, I think this is what I see. Like, how do you guys feel about this? And really just getting involved and like showing that you are cultured and you know things about fashion and you've traveled the world and you've this and you know what I mean? It's like such an eye opener. Like you'll be so surprised at how many meetings I've been in like that. And people just kind of like, oh, okay. I'm like, wow, this is your expectations of me. I'm blown away, you know, by me just coming in with having my input or having a mood board myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when they're like, oh, well, you know, can you create a mood board? I'm like, sure. Don't test me about a mood board because I'm going to show up with a whole, you know what I mean? Because I have to go the extra mile. I have to do more. I have to prove myself. I have to do all these things.
What I find frustrating about that is you said about proving yourself. So I get it, you know, like you're new to the game. I'll prove myself, I'll do the mood boards, but it's when you're 10 years in and you're still being questioned.
Yes.
You've seen my portfolio. Why are we still having the same conversation?
Please, my book still gets sent out. They're like, oh, can we see his book? Like, can we see something with, you know, without Rihanna? But if I go to your shoot, she's your mood board.
Right.
So I'm confused. What's happening? The only way we can change that whole, the white lens and things like that is if we have more people of color being in charge of these brands. Instead of being a Black hair ambassador for L'Oreal, let me be the global ambassador. Let me take over. Let me do a whole spectrum of your lines. You know what I mean? Let me be the face of that. I've never seen a global ambassador for a major hair company. For, you know, I've only been asked to be an ambassador for their ethnic products. You know what I mean? And I'm like, but what? No, I decline. You know what I mean? Because here you are, you're giving a white stylist, let's just say $500,000 to be the global ambassador for a major hair brand. Then they ask you, a Black hairstylist, to be an ambassador for their ethnic products, and they'll give you like $20,000 or something like that.
And that is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I've had my white friends who I've worked with pick me up in Maseratis and take me to their house in the Hill, and they work 2 days a week, and I go to their house and fall asleep on the couch because I've been working my ass off for the past 2 months. You know what I mean? Like they're put in these positions, and you know, and I'm still teaching them how to put a weave in. You know what I'm saying? And it blows my mind. And like having these conversations with your friends who are in the industry who are white and letting them know, you know, I do it on a regular basis. I just had a big powwow yesterday with a bunch of my white friends who are photographers and hairstylists and makeup artists. They invited me over for a rooftop cocktail. And I was like, y'all sure y'all want me to come? Because they're like, why? I was like, because I'm on some pro-Black-ish today. So we're going to have some conversations because I need to make sure that you guys understand what's happening around here. And like the conversations were so like explosive and so mind-boggling that a lot of the things that my friends didn't realize, you know what I mean? And I'm like, wow. So.
Did that blow your mind when you realized they didn't realize what was going on?
Yeah.
Like I could have jumped off that rooftop onto the like.
And that's why it's on us to start holding people accountable, because you can't expect them to know our experiences because they're not walking in our shoes.
Not only do we need to hold them accountable, but we also need to speak up. We need to start talking.
Yes. And don't feel like I'm being the, the angry Black.
Yeah.
Right. They can't be accountable if they don't know. So if we don't start opening up our mouths and start speaking our truth and start speaking our stories, no one can be held accountable about things they don't know.
I think a lot of people, I think a lot of Black creatives, and I can completely understand it. I think a lot of Black creatives are afraid to speak out because it's like what Marcia said at the top of the panel is that we get in the room and we've been waiting to get in the room for so long. We're afraid that if we ruffle any feathers or if we make anybody feel uncomfortable, they're gonna be like, out. Next, who else we got standing in line?
I don't like that. I don't like that guy. Like, I don't like that girl.
Right.
Troublemaker.
Troublemaker. It's always negative. It's always negative. They're difficult. And I can completely understand why a lot of Black creatives are like, should I speak out? Should I not speak out? I just got in the room. My career just started to take off. And that's why I say I applaud you guys for your bravery, because when speaking out is on uncomfortable topics, it's a scary thing.
Yeah. But if you don't speak out and you're still not getting anywhere, you might as well speak out.
Right, that part.
I mean, at that point, it's like I may as well say what I got to say. I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but like in my conversation with my friends, I have like other, Black friends in the industry that basically say, oh, you're friends with, this person and that person, and they're white and they work in fashion, Do you think that a lot of people think that you're friends with them because it's the way, it's your way in, or how you get these Vogue covers, or how you do these, or how you make these kind of connections? And I'm like, I can 100% understand how, other Black stylists may think that if you have like friends that are like in somewhat of power in fashion. And I had to explain that to my Black friends that these white friends of mine haven't helped me get anything. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they're in power, but they still have to show my book. They still have to sell me like no other. That doesn't change. I'm still Black. You know what I mean? I'm still Black. Doesn't matter who my friends are, And a lot of my white friends was just like, wow, like I really never thought about that. You know what I mean? I never thought about that part. Or if people thought that, oh, we were helping you, or that's why we're friends, or this. And I'm like, yeah, that really happens within my community as well. I feel like a lot of the things that happened in my career was never about my white friends in power or in fashion. I feel like a lot of the opportunities I got was through other Black stylists helping me or pushing me, you know what I mean, and leading me. And I think that's something that we need to like continue to do and pay it forward, because like if it wasn't for like Lisa Mitchell and Amoy Pitter, for like taking me in and pushing me into Paris Fashion Week and working and doing all these things, if it wasn't for Edward saying, hey, like I'm not fighting about your hairstylist, like, yeah, let him come, like let him do the hair, like let's do this, let's do that. I feel like a lot of those opportunities was through my own people, and I feel that a lot of times, like, we had that conversation, a lot of people was kind of like feeling like, we really don't help each other. But I disagree with that, because like in fashion, although we're all trying to get ahead, but at the end of the day, we're all we have. If there's something that I know I can't do and you guys can do it, I'm going to always be like, hey, what about Marcia? Like, I don't like, hey, I can't, like, you know what I'm saying? I make sure that my assistants are credited.
That's what we have to do. That's what we have to send the elevator back down.
Yeah. And like when you have assistants, like I always try to make sure that my assistants get the credit. You know what I mean? I don't care what magazine it is. I'm like, Yusef, and so. I'm not trying to like take all the credit, because I've been through that. I know what that looks like. I know how that feels. So changing that story and putting it in turning it into a different direction, is gonna make it a lot better for us. Because like these magazines, like, oh, well, we don't put assistants, and I'm like, well, we have to.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what needs to happen. Because how is she gonna move on in life without any credit or any accolades or anything, to go further? And like,
and that's the thing, everything, I love it, everything is malleable, everything can be changed. That's the problem, is that I think when you're working with an institution that's been based off of something for years and years, they think that that's set in stone. But no, everything has to be malleable, and it's up to us to challenge the institution. And I want to come back, since we're kind of talking about this now, about this question about speaking out, about being vocal, about holding people accountable. But how do you balance speaking out, holding people accountable? How do you balance white fragility? How do you work around that and navigate around that so that you don't come off as the angry Black person, so that it doesn't come off as combative, so that it can be received, so that the gatekeepers can start to say, you know what, I hear you, let's change that?
I think delivery has a lot to do with it, how we deliver the message. And I think speaking in a way that is not only holding other people accountable, but bringing receipts. You have to know what you're talking about, or no one's going to listen.
Yes.
There's a big difference between fact and opinion. No one is interested in your opinion. When you're at the level of holding people accountable and calling people out, I'm a huge advocate, like you said, show me the research, show me the facts. And I think that when you can show people statistical evidence, or you show people a case study, or you show people numbers, you can't do that. So I'm a big fan of case studies. So one of the things I looked at when we were having this conversation about agents are gatekeepers as well, both in the fashion and entertainment industry, as they connect creatives to the luxury jobs and to the top tier talent. So I looked at 4 agencies who kind of, are at the top of the game for both fashion and entertainment and have a global presence. I looked at the Wall Group, The Only Agency, Art Partner, and Art and Commerce. And I just wanted to see what the representation numbers were of how many Black artists and Black creatives they were representing. So the Wall Group looks after approximately 355 artists. 28 of those artists are Black. The Only Agency looks after 121 artists. 26 of those artists are Black. Art Partner looks after approximately 43 artists. 4 are Black. And Art and Commerce look after 72 artists, and 2 are Black. So, I mean, just when you start to look at the facts and the numbers, it's so jarring, because just that alone just lets you know that Black creatives aren't being valued in the luxury sector. And that's a big part of the problem. A big part of the problem is that there's this gap. There's not a link between luxury and Black creatives. There's not a link between, the top Hollywood actors and actresses and Black creatives. And these agents, as gatekeepers, they have a responsibility to start bridging these gaps. I mean, Navasha, you are represented by the Wall Group. So I would love to know your thoughts and your feedback on agencies. I know, Yusef, we had conversations about meetings that we've taken with agencies. So let's have a conversation on the agency side of things.
I think most agencies, particularly the ones that you just called out, are elitist.
So what does that mean? Does that mean that Black people aren't elite?
I'm just talking about the viewpoint.
You put the nail in the coffin. Those agencies are elitist. And so if there's not a lot of Black people on that list, then you basically what that says to me is Black people are not elite.
Starting out, trying to find an agent was probably the biggest nightmare of my life. Like, you have no idea. I just coming off of like Paris Fashion Week every season, and, traveling the world and working with all these people and not having an agent, and working with people who had major agents, the Wall Group and Art and Commerce and all these stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. They're like, yeah, when you come back to New York, we'll set up a meeting. Your white friends, right? You go into these meetings and you're not doing a Black celebrity or something that's going to generate money. Nobody wants to take a chance on you. You know what I mean? You have to be a cash cow already when you walk in. Nobody's looking at you as an artist that like, hey, I can really push you and turn you into a star. Nobody gives you that opportunity, give you that chance as an artist, you know what I mean, that can do hair in general. It's always like, can you do Black hair? Like, do you only do Black hair? Like, oh, and I show up to a meeting at an agency with a book full of white girls, and you're asking me if I could do Black hair. Like, so is that what you want me to do? Because this shouldn't be a conversation, you know what I mean? I'm showing you a book where I have a variety of girls, you know what I mean? And you're asking like, what's my specialty? No, I don't have a specialty, sweetie. Like, Like, I am the specialty, you know what I mean? So how can you help me take this to the next level? I didn't have those opportunities. We don't get those opportunities, you know?
We don't get
Every agency in New York City, like from the top of the top to the bottom of the barrel, you know, and like couldn't get representation because nobody wants to build a Black hairstylist. It's a bigger fight. It's a bigger mission as a agent. Yeah, it's hard. And then like nowadays, I can't stop, you know, certain agencies from sliding in my DMs. Like, oh, what y'all want? Hey, I remember I went to y'all like, you know, 15 years ago and hi, how can I help you now? You know what I mean? Because I have certain clients and I can, you know, bring the money. It's still going on.
Certain clients, there's a lot more Black celebrities out there now.
Exactly. So now
all of a sudden we're needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marcia, I would love, what's been the experience, what's the agency experience like in Europe?
It's the exact same thing. I mean, you know, I think for whether you're Black or white, you need the numbers. It's just 10 times harder for Black artists because you need the numbers, but then you need to prove that you actually can do hair. I guess the white counterpart doesn't necessarily have to prove all that, because they can get signed to an agency just with a few test shoot pictures, 1 or 2 images back in the days, and we have to give you the earth.
The earth.
Yeah.
Shut up with the earth. everything in it.
It's interesting for me speaking to hairstylists now because, again, the perspectives and the things, it's kind of, it's cut from the same cloth, but it's also, there's different nuances to the struggles that you guys experiences versus what a stylist experiences. How can we leverage our power as Black creatives so that we can excel?
I think we can leverage our power by speaking in unison.
Facts.
If we are all speaking the same message with the same level and the same answers, it's across the board.
How do we get to that point of speaking in unison, and why do you think we haven't already been speaking in unison?
We have to stop being afraid. We have to stop being afraid of losing opportunities to be validated by a community of people and a community of artists who don't accept us anyway. They accept our work, but they don't accept us as a human. They don't accept us as creatives. They don't accept us as artists. We've got to stop being afraid to lose those opportunities. We've got to stop being afraid of their no and start creating our own yeses. We have to.
This is the beginning of that. We'll make it a lot easier for people coming behind us right now because being able to get it out to the world and, you know, express our frustrations and the things that we're still currently going through as artists, you know what I mean? It's not done. We haven't made it. We're still, you know, my book, somebody's on my website now. I'm trying to figure out if they want to book me for a job right now. You know what I mean? So like that's still going on. It's always going to be the fight. But I think we're not afraid. We're not afraid. We're definitely not afraid right now to have these conversations and actually say what's going on. I think it's going to change the world. No one has ever in my 20 years of doing hair, no one has asked me how hard it has been for me to like get where I am or to share my story.
Even that mere fact is shocking. And that's why I really pushed for this panel series, because we talk on the phone, when we see each other, we talk to each other. But I think all the conversations that happen between us are not going to be enough to make change. These conversations have to be brought to the forefront, forms, and to people who have the power to make the change. On self-reflection, I do think that there are people who will listen and who will hear this and say, you know what? Why haven't we ever asked the Black hairstylists what their experience has been? What have I been doing? You've been perpetuating narratives of white privilege. So now is your opportunity, now is your time to help us to become an accomplice, to help us change those narratives.
And then we can celebrate each other, you know what I mean? Because I feel like we're not even in a place to like really celebrate each other because it's like so much hardship to get here.
Yes.
So
that's true.
You don't really, like,
oh my gosh.
People tell me the things that I've done. I look at what you guys are doing. I'm just like, wow, like killing it. You know what I mean? But it's like, there's not a moment where we could actually celebrate that and feel good about.
Do you think that is the reason why that is because it's always a constant fight?
Yeah, it's like,
That's
I don't have time to celebrate. I don't have time to celebrate.
Achieve that, now to the next one, and you don't even realize all the good stuff you've done because you're still in a constant fight.
Yeah.
Get to that.
And one of the other ways that we can change that is stop accepting the crumbs. Just say no.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yes, I think it is about, looking at the crumbs. I think because what happens a lot of times is people may not realize, they may think that they are giving us opportunities because they've offered us the crumbs. No, we're not interested in the crumbs. We're interested in the whole cake. So when you're ready to give us the whole cake, give me a call until keep the crumbs for someone else. So, Marcia, Navasha, Yusef, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy that we've been able to have this type of dialogue. I'm happy that you guys have been so open and honest with us. 2 things that I'm taking away from all of this is, 1, I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid because I know that the doors that are supposed to open for us will open, and the ones that are supposed to close, they can go ahead and close. And I also feel like I have the support, or starting to get the support of my community. And there's so much power in that. There's so much power in, having another stylist say, call me if you need to figure out what the rate should be. You know what I mean? Just being able to have those dialogues will help us have a progressive movement.
Yeah, communication.
That's so good, and it feels good. It feels good because you don't want to have those conversations. It's almost kind of embarrassing to have those conversations, especially about rates with other white stylists or whatever. Like I said, walking into the room and you see someone that looks like you, and you could actually have those moments where you can go to them and have conversations. And it's not, like I said, it's not cute being the only Black person in the room. It's not. Not cute.
Thank you guys so much. And that is a wrap.